Hi, I'm Lauren Borderkins, and I'm presenting over Chapter 9, which is Interactive Television. This presentation and PowerPoint will serve as a supplement to the reading in Chapter 9. The reading will give you more detailed information about examples of interactive television and its utilization. Now, if you'll go ahead and move to the next slide, and I'll discuss a brief summary of this presentation. We're going to talk about what is interactive television, a history of it, its developments, its current status, business models, consumer-generated content, piracy and digital rights, and the future of interactive television. At the end, we will have the discussion question and a video. So let's move on to the next slide and discuss what is interactive television. Your book describes it as the convergence of digital media and television against multiple platforms. It could be a tablet, it could be a gaming console, your television set. It's a lot of different variety there. However, it's highly dependent upon the internet. In order for it to be considered interactive television, the viewer has to make some sort of action with the television. In the PowerPoint, it gives you a lot of examples of types of actions. So requesting information, making a purchase, adding content, different things like that. But it also has to have a component to where the viewer interacts with the television, such as a remote control or touchscreen or hand gestures. Now, how did we get to a point where we're using interactive television? If you'll move to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about history. Interactive television is actually not a new idea. It kind of started in the 1960s, where there was a subscription TV for different sporting events or cultural events going on, and those were in select cities, such as San Francisco. In the late 1970s, there was Cube TV, which was very similar. It just didn't catch on. But if we go ahead and move to the mid-1990s and late 1990s, we see a jump. Microsoft has Web TV, and they've got about 1 million viewers and subscribers to this. However, it just didn't catch on and it kind of fizzled out. I think that this is due to people not having enough access to the internet, because interactive television does require internet access. And if we move into the millennium, that access to internet increases dramatically, and then we see a resurgence of interactive television with Lonely Girl 15. You can see a picture of Lonely Girl 15, her name is Bree, on the PowerPoint. That's actually a clip from her first video blog where she discusses making a video blog and how she set up her webcam and everything like that. And that prompted YouTube, which has just skyrocketed in viewers, and different kinds of content imaginable is on there for everybody to view. Then we also have BBC, which they have B-Sky B, and Red Button. Red Button is kind of a interactive access any TV content any time of day whenever you want it type of feature. You just press a red button on the remote control and it takes you to your red button features. So let's then talk about its current status and developments. In 2005, Dish Network and DirecTV reported having 25 million viewers. And then the spread of internet access increased the global access to digital TV. However, there's still issues. There's issues with packet processing. Packet processing is a variety of algorithms that is applied to a packet of data. And this packet of data moves through the network. So those packets can be easily accessed, which brings us to the second issue, which is security, the safety of the packets on the network. So if you're submitting a certain video that you don't want somebody to see, say it's over a new product you invented and you don't want anybody to have the idea of this product, it could be easily accessed for somebody that has the ability to crack codes and encryptions. So security is an issue. Another is infrastructure. Basically, the quality suffers if the internet and the systems to manage the signal streams aren't able to handle the volume that's coming through them. So you might, for instance, have experiences that if you have Netflix and you constantly see it buffering and you're like, I just want to watch my video. Well, it's because too many people are quote unquote using the internet, and so you can't really get a good quality picture because of that. It's coming to a bottleneck basically. So that's an issue there. But International Telecommunications Union began having conferences to discuss these issues so they can provide better service to the consumers. Canoe Ventures invented the Enhanced Binary Interchange Format, or EBIF. It's basically the embedding of clickable objects in MPEG video streams. So you can go to a YouTube video now and you may watch something about a soccer clip or something, and you'll see a pop-up that says, for ESPN news, click here, and you can click here, and then it takes you to the ESPN news. So that's kind of an interesting feature that a lot of people use. They want to be able to click on videos. It's almost like a VH1's pop-up music video, but you can actually click on the pop-ups and then go to more information. So that brings us to the current status of interactive television. So in the current status of it, everybody's talking about advertisement. How can we advertise? How can we sell advertisements? How can we make money off of this? Because it's pretty much a free service to everybody, especially YouTube. So they claim that 66% to 73% of the audience want to interact with advertisements, which I think is really interesting because our textbook was written in 2012. Well, just now in 2014, many of you have seen on YouTube, they now have this feature for advertisements. It's a skip through feature, so all you have to do is watch 3 or 4 seconds and then you can click to decide to skip the advertisement. And I don't know about you, but I pretty much choose that every time. I'm not going to sit there and watch the advertisement. I would choose to not have the advertisement at all. So I think there was a little bit of a hedge, prematurely toward a high interaction between the audience and advertisements than maybe expected, or the actual outcome of it. But ITV, which is interactive television, ads do have a higher click-through rate than regular internet or web. So interactive television has a 3 to 4% click-through rate, whereas regular web has a 0.3% click-through rate. So that's something interesting there that could maybe use some more research. So this brings us to our next slide about developments. How do we measure this? How do we measure what people are viewing, how we can advertise to those people, and what they're interested in looking at as far as advertisements go? So one of the concepts is follow the video. Whichever video has the most viewers or the most likes, go ahead and advertise there because you're going to reach more people that way. But Integrated Media Measurements Incorporated came with this idea where you could adapt cell phones that could then sample sounds, and then it would take that sound exposure of the consumer and compare it and match it to media content. Now, me just saying that kind of sounds ridiculous. Somebody taking my cell phone, listening to things that I'm listening to, trying to match to some sort of media, and then somehow getting the media back to me. That just doesn't even really make sense. So the type of model for reaching the audience that sort of makes sense is data mining. We hear about this a lot. It's helpful for many industries, just media and healthcare, education, engineering, really any type of business. However, data mining has its issues too. When you are data mining, you get a very large data set, and sometimes that's a little bit hard to go through all of it to find out how they link together. Do the linkages make sense? So there's really issue there too. And as far as measurements go, we'll just have to do the best we can with data mining, and there's a little bit better software out there today. And I think if you can really have a good education in that and how to do that, you could probably make some pretty good money. Talking about developments brings us to the next slide, which talks about business models. So what type of business model can advertisements do with interactive television? Some people have said give away free ads and programming, or have users pay for content called a paywall. Well, it didn't really work out that way with the paywall. Most consumers who are on the internet just want free information, basically, or entertainment. So then they started to look at the baby boomers and Generation X. They realized that really what they need is multiple platforms. They need to be able to reach a variety of ages, and those ages interact with television very differently. Some are going to use gaming consoles for the younger ages, and other of them might use tablets. Some of them still might use their remotes. So they need to be able to use all platforms in order to reach their audience. There's no more fixed schedules with TiVo and DirecTV where you can record shows and then watch them at a later time. Having a show at a fixed time doesn't really make sense anymore because people can watch them anytime they want. A lot of times they can go onto Netflix and watch entire seasons just in a weekend. Now they talk about real-time or live television in interactive television, such as maybe you saw this year with the World Cup. There was Television, which would host the videos or the filming of the soccer games and post them live in real time, and that was very big. You had people who didn't even speak Spanish logging on to Television just so they can watch the World Cup in real time. But this is a little bit harder for interactive television because Twitter and Facebook kind of already do that, so that market is a little saturated, and unless there's specific events like the World Cup, real time isn't really something that people are interested in. They want to be able to watch stuff on their own time. They want to be able to record it and just watch it whenever they'd like. They thought about doing something similar like iTunes. They have 99 cents for music. They thought, why don't we just do 99 cents for videos? Well, that didn't work because why would I pay 99 cents just to watch one video? I think that just kind of fizzled out, and it's just really not a thing anymore because people can just go to Netflix. They can pay one lump sum for a month, and they can get access to as many videos as they want. Or you can go on YouTube and get a lot of them for free. So then we move to different types of models. So the on-demand ads. They talk about vertical ads, which are they link the viewer to topical information and related products. So if you're in a specific show and it's regarding, hair products or something, they may have more of that on there. There's also opt-in ads. They're accepted in exchange for free or discounted programming. Hyper-targeted ads, which are delivered with localization and profiled matching criteria. Embedded advertising is the digital equivalent of product placement. And then there is sponsored content. It's a longer form of programming sponsored by an advertiser, similar to early sponsorship of 1950s. Now, if you kind of look in the next column there on the PowerPoint, these are some of the features that the book says are incomplete for interactive television. Voice search and command. Now, if you have a smartphone, you'll know that this is a little bit outdated, because if you have Siri on your smartphone, you could tell Siri to pull up a certain show, especially if you have the Netflix app on there, and she'll go ahead and pull up that show for you. So voice search and command is kind of already a thing. It says collaborative filtering and rating systems. Well, Netflix already has that. You can rate the different shows, and then it has suggestions for you of shows you might like based on your ratings of that show. Micropayments. If you have a smartphone, you may know a little bit about this. You may have micropayments for different types of music or things like that, apps that you have. This wouldn't be that much different from that. Social viewing. Well, if you have access to the Vine, you know what social viewing is, and that's very interactive. There's real-time captioning. This happens a lot with the news, especially CNN. They try to be very proactive about this. And dynamic and personalized content discovery. The red button kind of does this, so you can search for things that are popular, that are going on today, that are current, or just based on things that you've viewed before. It'll take you to that type of content, so you can discover new content that way. YouTube does a similar thing. If you watch a video, you see in a column on the side other videos they suggest for you. If you're interested in this, you may want to watch this video as well. So the things that your book suggests are incomplete for interactive television are kind of on their way here in 2014. Which moves us to the next slide, where we will talk about consumer-generated content. Your book describes this phenomena as brought about because of disintermediation, which is the process of business communicating or dealing directly with end users rather than through intermediaries, which is very true if we look at weblogs, or what we call blogs. They can put any type of content on there that they want. A lot of times people will have a blog. I know that my sister's friend does a blog for a fashion company. They give her certain products and she talks about them in her blog because she has so many viewers. They don't have to really pay anybody for advertising or marketing. She just is kind of getting free product, and it's a win-win situation for the business there because they're getting free marketing because she's doing the blog anyways. Another reason is that there's no gatekeepers. There's unlimited ability to create, distribute, and sell content, any type of content, through interactive television on the web. Now, your book questions if this interest can be kept, and I think that it can. I think that it is sustainable. I don't think it's going away ever, simply because people now have access to content that they didn't before. If you were interested in a particular show, if you had fandoms are really big now. Let's say you watched Doctor Who or something like that. Now you can meet people who have similar interests and read what they have to say about Doctor Who. If they have theories about it, or the characters, or different shows that they think could come from that, you might be interested in that, whereas before it may not have been very easy to get to. And so we can pick and choose the content that we want to view, and I think that that personalization is very popular, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. Your book also mentions if that's too much content. I don't think that that is. We can imagine it as this grid where all information is on this grid, where we're only going to fill in so many boxes of that grid for knowledge of our own, whether it's a box that we want to fill in or it's a box that we discover. So whether or not all the information is out there doesn't mean it's too much content. It just means we have to wade through that and pick out what we want and what we don't want. So I don't think that's a problem at all. But what is a problem, if we move on to the next slide, is piracy and digital rights. What it is for interactive television is file sharing. People may download a video. They may have paid for it, they may not have paid for it, and then they go ahead and share it with other people. And so that's a problem because people who have copyrights or the digital rights to this content are not getting legally paid from these people that are being entertained by the content. There is BitTorrent, that is a file sharing service, and then there's YouTube. They account for half of the daily volume of data sent via the internet. So file sharing and piracy, that accounts for a lot of what goes on the internet. They claim that billions of dollars have been lost due to this. And the problem is that these sharers, they don't see it as illegal. They don't see it as a problem. They feel like if the content is there, if you want to create something and share it, then you should want to share it and let it be shared. So they don't feel like it's an issue. And it happens because there's that poor encryption that we talked about that's easily hacked with the packet processing and the security there. So it just makes it very easy for people to share files and pirate videos that they didn't pay for. So let's talk about the future of interactive television, which is the next slide. The demand for increased portability is what your book in 2012 mentioned for the future of interactive television. We see that already. If you have a smartphone or iPad or anything like that, you know that you can have TV at the end of your fingertips anytime you want, anywhere you walk, as long as you have access to the internet. They also discuss personalized media delivery. Well, the Netflix rating system and their suggestions, they already do that. Gaming platforms was another one. Well, with Xbox Connect and Wii U, families have access to Netflix from there and all kinds of other TV resources. The fact that interactive is changing is a big deal for us. In the 90s, interactive may be that the TV guide was interactive. All of a sudden, you could pull the TV guide up on your TV and you can scan through it with the remote and then look through to see what other times, shows we're going to be on and then select it. But in the millennium, now we have touch screens, the personalized content with web blogs. You can comment and like different things. It's very different now. So if we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide, we'll talk about a conclusion of all of this. Basically, interactive television is television interacting with digital media for the viewer to make an action through their television. We talked about the history of it, starting from the 1960s until now, the millennium. We talked about its recent developments and its current status with advertisements, the business models and data mining, consumer-generated content with blogs, piracy and digital rights with the issue with file sharing, and the future of interactive television, which we're kind of already experiencing now. So the discussion question is, what do you envision as the next phase of interactive television? Well, I found this video based on a cartoon concept called Rabbids. You may or may not have heard of it. And they have an interactive television show. The next slide has a video of a trailer for this interactive television show of Rabbids. Now, if you don't have the latest version of Office or Flash, the video is not going to play instantly for you when you click to the slide. Instead, you'll need to click on the link that will take you to a YouTube video so you can view it. And I can't wait to see what you'll have to discuss about this topic. Thank you and have a great day.